آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا غريب كربلاء. رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا والآخرة. إن أردت النجاة يوم المعاد فجود بدمع على الإمام الجواد. إن أردت النجاة يوم المعاد فجد بدمع على الإمام الجواد. لست أنساه حين أشخصه المأمون من يثرب إلى بغداد. قد قضى ببغداد وهو غريب بفؤاد من شعلة السم صادي والتي قدمت له السم أم الفضل بغضا منها لأم الهادي. تركوا نعشه بقنطرة الريان ملقايا. آل الشقايا والعناد يعني ثلاثا بقت جثة الإمام الجواد ملقاة على الفلاة في الأرض بسبب عناد أهل الشقايا. تركوا نعشه بقنطرة الريان ملقايا. أهل الشقاء والعناد فاستماتت أشياع نحو حمل النعش. الشيعة أخذتهم الحمية، كيف يبقى إمامهم بهذا الحال؟ فاستماتت أشياع نحو حمل النعش كي لا يبقى رنين وسرى فيهم الحماس إلى حملوه رفعا على الأجيال ما بقي مثل جدي السبط عار الجسم تعدو على أقرار تركوا جسمه ثلاثا وعلوا رأسه في رؤوس السمر وسروا في نسائه حاسرات أيوا حسينا وسروا في نسائه حاسرات يا لقومي بين الرجال لو ترى يا خيرة الله في السابق عظم الله لك الأجر يا صاحبنا لو ترى يا خيرة الله في السابق وستر الوجوه من يا عيني على الجواد ابكي بدمع دم يا قلبي اعلم الهادي تلتشم شباب وصايم يفطر على السقف وحيد بدار غربة مثل الحسين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين أما بعد فلما جاء من كلام سيدنا ومولانا الإمام الجواد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه المؤمن يحتاج إلى توفيق من الله وواعظ من نفسه وقبول ممن ينصحه صدق الإمام الجواد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه صلوا على محمد وعلى This is the third part of a three-night series where in the first night we discussed about some of the challenges that al-Imam al-Jawad salamullahi alayhi experienced during his short life of 25 years. And yesterday we also discussed about the propaganda against the Imam salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi and how he faced that propaganda in educating people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tawheedullah, about the imamah. Tonight, if Allah gives us tawfiq, we'll conclude with this hadith of al-Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, which benefits all of us, but we will gear it towards also the youth. Since al-Imam al-Jawad died at the age of the youngest Imam to be martyred, salamullahi alayh. Indeed, his life is an inspiration to all of us, especially those who are younger. The Imam in this hadith says, al-mu'minu, the believer, needs, he mentions three things. The first thing that a mu'min needs is tawfiqun min Allah. What is tawfiqun min Allah? Tawfiq could be translated as success, or could be translated as guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we do have a narration suggesting that at-tawfiq ma wafaqa madmun al-hadith, kitab Allah wa sunnat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Whatever deed a person does that is in line with the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Quran, as well as the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, this person has gained some success. Now, tawfiq also has causes and effects. Musa ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam one day asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rab, show me my neighbor in Jannah. Who's going to be next to me in Jannah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to go to so and so place, and there he will find his neighbor in Jannah. He went, traveled. When he arrived, he saw a poor person, humble. He expected some abid, zahid, some mu'min, living in a cave, for example, designating himself to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Bani Israel, they had these kinds of ubbad, worshippers, who would literally live in a cave, on a mountain, and they would pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala their whole life. That's what he expected. However, saw just a normal human being, a normal person, ordinary man. He has a small shop that he looks after. So he was surprised. Nonetheless, he approached this man. He told him, is it all right if I spend the night at your place tonight? Can I stay with you? He said, sure. He went, spent the night with him. The Prophet Musa ala nabiyina wa alayhi salam was observing him, trying to see. He stayed up the whole night, Musa alayhi salam, trying to observe this man, monitor him. Until morning. He thought that maybe this man wakes up the whole night doing ibadah, salat. No, he found him sleeping the whole night. He was really surprised. In the morning, he was wondering, why is this man my neighbor in Jannah? How come? Then he noticed something about him. In the morning, this man went inside a room, stayed for some time, and then came out. Musa ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam then asked him, he said, what did you do in that room? He said, I have an old mother. My mother is very old. I go every morning to take care of her. She does not have teeth anymore to chew her food. So I actually chew the food for her and have to feed it to her. Then I take care of all her needs. Whatever she needs, I look after it. And then I ask her for her permission to go to work. When she gives me permission, then I leave. Musa ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam then asked him. He said, and when she gives you the permission to leave and go to work, does she say anything else? He said, yes. He said, she raises her frail hands and she says, Ya Rab, ij'alhu jara nabiyyika fil jannah. Oh Allah, make him the neighbor of your prophet in Jannah. That's the dua she prays for me. At that point, Musa understood. Why is this man his neighbor in Jannah? Because of his service to his mother, to the parents. Allah gave him that tawfiq, that success. Both in dunya and in akhirah. So, one important message, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, is try to always be in the obedience of the parents. It brings success in dunya and in the akhirah. There are certain things that we have seen their effects immediately. In dunya, not only reading about them in books. One of them is serving the parents. When somebody pleases his or her parents, they pray for him, he gains success in dunya and in akhirah. A man comes to al-Imam al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I sometimes go for Umrah or Hajj, and I would like to do tawaf around the Kaaba and gift it for you and your father on your behalf. I want to do a tawaf. But I was told that we should not be doing a tawaf on behalf of the awsiya, yani the Imams. Is that true? The Imam told him no. When you go there, you can do tawaf on behalf of myself and on my father. So the man said, I went, did the tawaf. 3 years later, he said, I came back to see al-Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam after 3 years. He said, I told him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, do you remember when I asked you about doing tawaf on your behalf and your father? He said, yes. He said, I did it. And then something came to my mind. After doing the tawaf for you and your father, something came to my mind. He said, what? He said, it came to me that I do tawaf on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He said, al-Imam al-Jawad said, sallallahu ala Rasulillah, 3 times. He said, so I did tawaf on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the next day I thought I should also do tawaf on behalf of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So I did tawaf on behalf of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Then the 3rd day on behalf of Imam al-Hasan salamullahi alayhi. Then al-Hussein alayhi salam. And on the 10th day I did it on your behalf. Yani 10 days, he goes to the Kaaba and he does tawaf on behalf of one of the Ma'sumeen alayhim as-salam. And he then told him, this is my faith and belief in you and the religion with which I submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani I believe in you, in your imamah and the imamah of your fathers alayhim as-salam. And the nubuwwah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is my deen, my religion. The Imam told him, if that is the case, then this is the religion that Allah will not accept from people any other than it. This is the religion of Allah that He will accept from ibadah. That's why, brothers and sisters, as a side note, we should say Alhamdulillah الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. This is a great ni'mah, as we will be inshallah doing in few weeks on the day of Ghadir. It is mustahab to shake hands with the mu'mineen and say this. This is a big ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. You will be asked on that day about the blessing, na'im. One day a man says, I was sitting with an Imam al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, and we were having lunch together. How great to be the guest of an Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, having lunch with him. Then after we finished the lunch, it was the tastiest lunch I ever had. Such a great lunch. But then I turned to my companions, and they said the lunch was so good, however I'm worried. Why are you worried? He said, because Allah says, وَلَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. You will be asked about the blessings. So Allah is going to ask us about this lunch, this blessing. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam turned to him and he said, Allah is more generous. He's generous. And the generous will not feed you and then ask you about the food that He fed you. Allah is not going to ask you about this kind of food, especially when it's halal. So he said, then what is the ayah about? He said, that is wilayatuna ahl al-bayt. And inshallah, for us, when they ask us, who is your Imam? We'll say Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And the Imam of our time, we'll say Al-Mahdi al-Muntadhar ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. This is the khayr of dunya and akhirah. So, this man said, I did tawaf on behalf of all those and I believe in this religion. This is my faith. He told him, this is the faith that Allah will accept from the people, from His servant, and not other than it. Then the man said, I may have also done tawaf of Fatima alayha salam, on her behalf. Salamullahi alayha. He said, great, if not, do it, because it is the best. It is the best. This is an example of tawfiq. Tawfiq. He did tawaf on behalf of Imam al-Jawad and Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. Allah gave him the tawfiq then to do tawaf on behalf of Rasulullah and the Imams alayhi salam. That's tawfiq. That's success. That man served his mother. Allah blessed him to be, inshallah, among the companions of Musa alayhi salam in the akhirah and the neighbors. So these are important aspects, brothers and sisters. Look after them. Second, Imam says the mu'min needs tawfiqun min Allah. So the tawfiq comes, but it comes based on our deeds and actions. If you submit to Allah, if you worship Allah, if you devote yourself to Allah, Allah will increase in your blessings. When we make mistakes, God forbid, then we do istighfar. Istighfar. And inshallah, Allah will forgive us. Inshallah. That's one. Second, المؤمن يحتاج إلى توفيق من الله وواعظ من نفسه. And he needs an admonishment from within himself. Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى what? يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change a group of people or a community unless they change from within themselves. Yani, my dear brothers and sisters, sometimes you can admonish a person for 10 years. But if he is not willing to change, it's not gonna. So my dear brothers and sisters, especially the youth here, make sure you make the intention to be in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make that niyyah. Take care of your salat, take care of your siyam, take care of your aqa'id, your beliefs, your ahkam. Because it is important. If you don't make that intention, unfortunately, Nothing will change until you change. وَوَاعِظٌ مِّن نَفْسِهِ. There was a judge at the time of al-Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. The Abbasi court had appointed the head judge, قاضي القضاة, يحيى بن أكثم. هذا طبعا كان كارثة. هذا الرجل كان كارثة. هذا وقاضي القضاة. يقول الشاعر: متى تصلح الدنيا ويصلح حالها وقاضي قضاة المسلمين يلوط. عند قاضي القضاة كيف يعمل بعد؟ تخيل شو تتوقع بعد؟ على أي حال، هاي من مآسي الدهر. وطبعا رجعوا لنا هؤلاء الأشخاص، رجعوا اليوم عندك نفس القضية. على أي حال، this is يحيى بن أكثم. Yahya ibn Aktham says he was the head judge at the time. He says, I came to Medina and I was in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam doing tawaf around the qabr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Then I saw Muhammad ibn Ali, al-Imam al-Jawad salamullah alayhi. I saw him in the masjid. So I approached him. I started asking him some questions, and he answered all my questions. Then I told him, I want to ask you one more question, but I'm embarrassed. He said, do you want me to tell you? What do you want to ask me? He said, what? You tell me. He said, you want to ask me about Imam? He said, yes, exactly, Imam. He said, أنا حجة الله في أرضه. أنا الإمام. You want to ask about Imam? I am the Imam. يعني who is Khalifatullah في أرضه? Today, it is me. Who is the true Khalifa of Allah? It is me. Who is Hujjatullah? It is me. Who is the Imam? It is me. I am the Imam. That's your question, right? He said, exactly. He said, then show me a proof. I want to have a proof. Yahya ibn Aktham was holding a stick in his hand. Asa. He had a stick. The stick spoke. Al-Asa takallamat. And the stick said, this is al-Imam. Hada huwa al-Imam. This is the Imam. That is assigned, who is assigned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, after this, is there any room for not belief? But he still didn't believe. Subhanallah. طبعا هو اللي يعمل هيك شيء عمل ويفعل هيك افعال، بعد وين تجي للهدايه؟ والعياذ بالله. حتى لو يشوف معجزه امام عينيه بعدها ما يؤمن والعياذ بالله. So, unless he wanted to believe, he didn't want to believe. Even though he asked for a miracle. First of all, he wanted to ask the Imam a question, and he didn't. The Imam told him what the question was. So that's enough. But still, he wanted another sign. Imam showed him the sign. But still, he still didn't want to believe in the Imam. Salamullah. And what can you do? Unless you take that asa and you beat him with it. بعض الناس هالشكل العصا لمن عصى يوقع هكذا. So don't be so stubborn. Don't be an individual who does not listen. That's why the hadith says the mu'min needs wa'idun min nafsih. Deep inside you have to determine to change. Otherwise, nothing will happen. The analogy they give in medicine, there are some people, some patients who come to the physician, and the physician, for example, does some tests and tells them that, for example, you have some illness. Let's say, for example, diabetes, for example. He says, no, I don't have anything. So, what do you mean you don't have anything? Your blood sugar is very high. We've done that. He says, no, I'm fine. You need to take medication. No, I'm fine. Why should I take it? Unless you convince him that he's ill, nothing's going to happen. That's it. Similarly, sometimes, especially with the youth, because they have this that he said, opinion, Ra'yu Sheikh, the opinion of the old man, to me is dearer, more beloved than the enthusiasm of the youth. The youth may have a lot of enthusiasm, but you need to have the opinion of the Sheikh. You need to have the opinion of the Sheikh. الشيء يذكر when the Battle of Hunayn took place. Very briefly, it's a long story, but very briefly. The Battle of Hunayn happened between the Muslims and al-Ta'if. And this was after the conquest of Mecca. After the conquest of Mecca, the Battle of Hunayn took place. The people who were getting ready to fight against the Muslims, the people who were in al-Ta'if, that tribe, they said that the Muslims have now conquered Mecca, we are next. So we need to prepare to face this Prophet and his people. They had the head of the tribe. The head of the tribe at the time was an old man, very old. And he had gone blind. They came and they said, he is an old man and he has gone blind. He is not useful anymore. Let's push him aside and let's elect a young, youthful, charismatic leader so that he can be the new head of the tribe. So they pushed him aside and they elected someone. They told him, so what shall we do? You're now our leader. He said, well, we need to fight. How are you going to fight? He designed a plan, and then he said, we want to have every man must bring his wife, his children, and all his money and wealth with him to the battlefield. You keep all that behind you, so that when you fight wholeheartedly, because all your wealth, all your money, all the children, everything is behind you. Yani if you lose, khalas. So therefore, we will fight wholeheartedly and we will defeat him. Yani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions. That old man, he listened to the plan. He told them, is this your plan? He said, yes. He said, then we've lost. Not only have we lost the battle, we've also lost all our goods as well. Everything is gone. Because the minute they will kill you guys, when it comes to life, nothing is more precious than life. This old man told them. When it comes to life, nothing is more precious than life. Not your money, not your even children, not your families. You'll run. Run for your life. So you guys, when you run away, then all your money and all your wealth will be an easy target for the Muslims. They will take it all. So that's not a good idea. Don't do it. They said, you are an old man, blind, you don't even know what you're talking about. They pushed him aside. Interestingly, exactly what he said happened. What he said happened, exactly as he said. And they lost. They lost big time. Of course, through the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. ويوم حنين إذ أعجبتكم كثرتكم فلم تغن عنكم شيئا وضاقت عليكم الأرض بما رحبت ثم وليتم مدبرين. أمن هربوا كما فعلوا في أحد. نفس الشيء. They did the same. They ran away as well. This is in Surah Al-Tawbah in the Quran. But Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi went after the man who's carrying the banner. He killed him from the mushrikeen. And he brought 13 prisoners alone, single-handedly. Brought them back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The Muslims then they said, mashallah, okay, I guess we're winning. We have prisoners. So they came back and then victory happened afterwards. Nonetheless, what the old man said was true. Even though he was old. But does it mean that he does not have experience? So, it is important that when you are given an advice, you will have to make the intention of change from within. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And that's why the third thing that the Imam says, alayhi salam, وَقَبُولٍ مِّمَّنْ يَنصَحُهُ. And he should accept from the person who gives him nasiha, who gives him an advice. If someone gives you an advice, a sincere advice, listen to it. Listen to it. So my dear brothers and my dear sisters, the youth, I hope you're listening, inshallah. When your parents tell you to study, they are worried about your future. Studying is important. Education is important. But you yourself will have to determine to change and study. Otherwise, as I mentioned, if a person tells you for 10 years, study, unless you take that initiative, nothing is going to happen. Education is extremely important. Look after your education. Look after your aqa'id, your deen. Religion brings you happiness in dunya and in akhirah. I've given this example in the past. Because sometimes some youth tell me, Sheikh, we find religion restrictive. Gives us rules. Wake up for Fajr at 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. Pray 2 rak'ah salat. Fast in the holy month of Ramadan. At school, when we go to school, especially in the non-Islamic schools, in the public system, our friends, or we see people having all kinds of relationships, but we can't. Lots of restrictions. My response is, anyone here learning how to drive? Do we have anybody? No? MashaAllah. Kumail, you're learning how to drive? Oh, MashaAllah. Okay. I'd be worried if they're actually learning how to drive. When you want to get your license, what do you have to do? It's not like our countries where you say, the father says, here, go for that, habibi. Here are the car keys and have fun. Yalla, go learn. In here, you can't do that. You have to do what? Driving test. Yeah. Driving test. You have to read. Do the driving test. First of all, you have the theoretical portion, and then you have the practical portion. And after then, you're given the license. Now, when you're given the license, khalas, that's it. You're free to do whatever you want. No, you have to abide by the rules. You drive where, for example, the speed limit is 60 or 40, and you're driving at 100, and the police stops you. And you look at the police, you say, why do you stop me? I say, what do you mean? I'm practicing my freedom. Freedom of expression. He says, go to the judge and tell him that. Freedom of expression. Here you go. Fadal Habibi. This is your present. $200. That's if he does not take your driver license away and your car is pounded. Freedom of expression within limits, not endangering yourself or endangering others. There are laws, there are rules. You have to abide by these rules. These rules are put in place for one reason, to protect you. Second, to protect the people, protect the society. So there have to be rules. Otherwise, imagine, I don't know if you've been to some countries where they don't really have much driving rules. Have you tried crossing the street in one of those countries? Yani the person will have to write the wasiyah, read the shahada, do maybe recite the whole Quran and then cross the street. Just to make sure that you arrive safely to the other side. There's no rules. No rules. You find people driving, mashallah, wrong side, this side, anywhere you can find a ride, on the streets, on the curb, anywhere. But that's no rules. Not only this, the rules, the laws in this country, they not only apply this. If you have a business, if you're a business owner, you're a business owner. If you're a business owner, can you choose to pay your employees whatever you want? You can't. They put a minimum wage. You can't go below that minimum wage. You say, well, I'm the business owner. It's my business. What's it of your business? It's too bad. We have to make sure that the society is looked after. The people in the society are looked after. You're not abusing your workers. And so there's minimum standards you have to adhere to. These are all laws for the protection of the society, for example. Now, don't you say this is restriction? This is restricting our freedom, this is restricting our whatever. These are there. Rules are important. Imagine what happens if you have a lawless society. Chaos erupts. Laws are important. Now, because Islam is a perfect religion that touches on every aspect of your life. Every aspect. The social aspect, the financial aspect, the political aspect, and so on and so forth. It then touches on each and every aspect of your life. When it comes on your spiritual aspect, Allah knows the human being has a spiritual side and therefore needs spiritual guidance. So Allah says, pray, fast. These things, we may not realize their importance and their impact on us, but they have a huge impact on us. Some people would say, for example, that why do we have to eat halal? I see people eating non-halal. No, all around us. And they live, mashallah, 80 years, 90 years. No problem. So what's the difference? We say maybe physically there may not be an impact. Maybe, we don't know. Maybe there is an impact. Maybe science will discover that later. We don't know. But spiritually, it has a huge impact. Spiritually. There was a man who used to enjoy salat. Enjoy it. He enjoyed salat. Used to pray salatul layl. His salat, he prays it on time. He used to enjoy salat. يتلذذ بالعبادة. The salat. He enjoys it. And then sometime later, something happened which he stopped enjoying his salat. He started to force himself out of bed, for example, to pray salatul layl. He drags himself to the mihrab to pray salat. So he started feeling really bad. One night he prayed to Allah and started crying. He said, Ya Rab, what happened? I used to enjoy my salat. Why? Why did I lose this taste, this beautiful taste of salat? Why? What happened? He went to sleep that night and then he saw himself in the dream a few weeks ago. He was buying dates. He came, he took from the shopkeeper, he put some dates in a bag. The shopkeeper told him, this is good, you're happy with it? He said, yes. Means they made the deal. The deal was made. He gave the money to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper took the money, turned to get him the change. While the shopkeeper had turned to get the change, this man looked at one of these dates and he found that this is old. So he took it, he put it down, and he took another date and put it in its place without informing the shopkeeper. The problem here is because the deal was made. The business deal was made. He gave him the bag. He told him, you're happy with it? He said, yes. Yani khalas, the deal now is made. Now, if you want to make a change, you have to tell the shopkeeper. You can't make the change now on your own after the deal has been made. So, then he heard a voice in the dream. He said, this date that you ate, this one date that you ate, made you lose that taste of salat and ibadah. Now, my brothers and sisters, how many dates have we eaten? Allahu A'lam. We find, most of us, maybe some, except some of the mu'mineen muttaqeen, when the time of salat, we find salat is a burden. Like we have to really perform it, get up, drag ourselves out of bed. That's if we pray salat al-fajr, for example. So you see, those people who may not be eating halal, yes, they may not be eating it physically, they're strong and they look fit, but spiritually, where are they? Spiritually, where are they? They could be like that man, Yahya ibn Aktham, that judge. When they see a miracle right in front of their eyes and they still don't believe. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. See that, brothers and sisters? So the halal brings you this tawfiq, eating this halal, doing these good deeds, ibadah, ta'ah. These laws, they may appear to be restricting us, but they're there for our guidance, for our protection. Allah tells us in the Quran, you يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah wants to make your life easy, not difficult. قل هو الله أحد الله صمد. He is needless. He does not need your ibadah. He does not need to torture you so that he enjoys. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. That look at, I'm going to make their life difficult because I'm their Lord. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. حَاشَا لِلَّهِ. He is merciful, He's kind, He's compassionate. Rahman, Rahim, Ghafoor, Kareem, Jawad. All these beautiful attributes of Allah. He created us to have mercy upon us. But it is us. So brothers and sisters, take care of your salat and siyam and ibadah. Take care of your studies and your education. Take care of your akhlaq and manners. When someone advises you, listen to the advice. When it's a sincere advice, especially when it comes from your parents or from someone who cares about you. Now be careful here. Don't take advice from some people who try to, al-'iyadu billah, deviate you. Like for example, especially these days, the marijuana that's legal in high school or whatever, they come to you and say, want to concentrate better in your exams, you study well, take this. Don't listen to that advice. Not that kind of advice. But unfortunately, it's a reality, huh? Some people are, smiling. It's happening. It is happening. We cannot turn a blind eye to it and say it is not happening in our communities. It is happening, unfortunately. It's haram. I know it's legal. Not everything legal is halal. Alcohol is also legal. It's not halal, it's haram. Other things are legal, but they're haram. So make sure that you follow the advice of, like I said, your parents, advice of people who care about you, people who have wisdom, deen, religion, akhlaq. Those are them. Then take that advice. And then decide to change. Make the intention of changing. Don't say, I sometimes hear some people saying, Allah created me this way. Khalas. No, it's not khalas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you potential and abilities. You can change. There was a man, again at the time of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. He was not a believer in the 12 Imams. In the Shia school of thought I mentioned yesterday, there are 3 groups that survives today. The Zaydis, who believe up to the Imam of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Then they branch off from his son Zayd. Although Zayd was a good man, he was a Shia, he was a believer of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, but some people followed him and considered him an Imam. So that's one branch, and they're still surviving today. There's still a group of Zaydis. The second group are the Ismailis, who believe up to the Imam of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and then they branch off from his son Ismail. They're also surviving today. We have Shia Ismailis. And then there are the Ithna Asharis, like us, alhamdulillah, who believe in the Imam of the 12 Imams alayhi salam. And that is the haqq. That is the haqq, by the way. In Bihar al-Anwar, just as a side note, Alam al-Majlisi has a section in one of his volumes, I think volume 37 if I'm not mistaken, in Bihar al-Anwar, he has a section about النصوص على الأئمة الاثنا عشر. When the Prophet tells or says, these are the Imams after me, and he names them. And then Imam Ali names the Imams alayhim as-salam, Imam al-Hasan, Hussein, and so on. He, in Bihar al-Anwar, in that section lists approximately more than 250 hadith, more than 250, about the Imams, the 12 Imams alayhim as-salam. This is al-haqq. So there's no question about it, nonetheless. There was a man at the time of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam who was a Zaydi. So he believes in the Imam of Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam. He said, I came to Baghdad, this man who was a Zaydi. I came to Baghdad and I saw people in Baghdad. One day I was walking on the street, people are running, people are disturbed. What's the issue? What's the matter? They said, Ibn al-Rida, Ibn al-Rida, yani the son Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam is coming today. He's coming on the streets today. So we are here gathered, we want to see him. This is the khair. This is the khair of dunya. Not today you find celebrities, mashallah, people are lining up to that celebrity who had his trial just recently. People were camping on the court just to see him. What? Imam Zamanko, what is it? People camp in there just to see. So what? You saw him, okay, big deal. But subhanallah, that's when you have shallow understanding. These people understand who Imam al-Jawad is. So they gathered, everybody gathered. Imam al-Jawad is coming. Ibn al-Riba. They gathered. He said, well, let me see who is this Ibn al-Riba people. He said, I stood there. Imam al-Riba is young, is youthful. He's riding a mule, Baghla, ajallakum Allah. And he's walking, humble. He doesn't have this whole, mashallah, entourage around him, red carpet, humble, he's young, riding a mule. So I looked at him and I said, this is the Imam? This is their Imam? He said, La'natullah ala atba'ati Imam. هكذا قال والعياذ بالله. May Allah do la'na on people who follow him and consider him an Imam. Then he says, Al-Imam al-Jawad walked by me. And he read this ayah from Surah Al-Qamar, ayah number 24. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He told him, فَقَالُوا أَبَشَرًا مِنَّا وَاحِدًا نَتَّبِعُهُ إِنَّا إِذًا لَفِي ضَلَالٍ وَسُعُرٍ. He told him, this is from the people of Thamud. The people of Thamud, they said, should we follow a man who's of us, like Prophet Salih? Why should we follow? He's a man like us. Indeed, if we follow him, then we are in misguidance, we're in deviation. Imam al-Jawad told him this ayah. That's what we're thinking about. Why do people follow him? He looks like the rest of us. He's young. He's riding a mule. Why do people? So he read him this ayah. The man then said in his mind, Hada sahir. He's magician. How did he know what I was thinking? The Imam then followed it up with the next ayah. Number 25. أَأُلْقِيَ الذِّكْرُ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا بَلْ هُوَ كَذَّابٌ أَشِرٌ. Did he receive the revelation away from us? We did not receive that. He received the revelation. He is indeed a liar. Because he called him what? What did he call him? A magician. Calling him a liar. The Imam answered him. When he heard this, he said, أشهد أنك حجة الله. He said, now I accept. He is the Imam. And he converted. And he became a follower of Imam al-Jawad. He accepted the advice from Imam al-Jawad. He saw the miracle of Imam al-Jawad, but he was not like that man who, despite his miracle, still didn't believe. He decided to change. If he had not decided, he would not have changed. So my dear brothers and my dear sisters, the message we leave today, we are youth, inshallah, and everybody here is a youth. Everybody is a youth. All of you. Even if you are 90 years of age. As long as you're below 100, you're still a youth. Inshallah. خدمتك حبيبي anytime. هذا الشيء بالشيء يذكر. عندك صديق, I had a friend, he's a Sheikh Muhammad. He says, I went to Hajj. He's from Iran. This Sheikh is from Iran. He said, I went to Hajj one year. This is back maybe in the 80s. He said, when I was in Hajj, now back in those days, going to Hajj was easy. You didn't have to be with a caravan and a group, whatever. خلاص, just go take your visa and then you go to Hajj. And everybody got their visas at that time. He said, I was doing tawaf, the Sheikh, he told me the story. He said, I was doing tawaf. He said, next to me, I find this old Iranian man, very old. His back was bent. And he was doing tawaf. He was walking, mashallah. He was doing tawaf himself, not on a wheelchair or something. So I looked at him. I said to him, with the respectful language, the Iranians, they say, Pidar father. Father, why are you coming to Hajj at this age? And you're walking in your tawaf. You're doing your tawaf yourself. You can have niyaba. Get someone to do the tawaf on your behalf. He said, he looked at me like this. He said, son, he said, I am 114 years old. 114. He said, since I've been 15 years of age, 15. I have been coming to Hajj every year. Yani this is Hajj number what? 99. 99. What did you do? What's wrong with your math, brothers? Well, listen. 15 and he's 114. This is number 99. 99. He said, this is my 99th Hajj. And all the Hajjs, I've been doing them myself. No niyaba. I do my own tawaf, my sa'i, my rami jamarat, everything myself. And if Allah gives me life next year, inshallah, I'll come back again. MashaAllah. Sometimes you see them, al-fallahin, khususan these farmers sometimes will live, they eat natural food, not like the food we eat these days, mashallah, all plastic. They eat natural food, real food, all that, inshallah, they have strength. Even though they're old, sometimes you see them, mashallah. But if you're under 114 years of age, you're still youth, mashallah, You're still a youth. But take this advice. We learn from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. We need tawfiq from Allah. This tawfiq, we will not get it unless we put in the effort. You need to do tawfiq, you do that work, Allah will give you tawfiq. إن تنصر الله ينصركم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا. إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. You do the work, Allah will give you that tawfiq. You pray to Allah, you obey Allah, you worship Allah, you'll get that success. Second is, make sure you make the decision to change. Without you making that decision, nothing is going to happen. So from today, make that niyyah of change. And the third, when your parents or when people of wisdom, religion, care, give you advice, listen to the advice, take the advice. I tell some of the students, especially at the school, I tell them, after al-Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah al-Sharif, there are no people on this world who love you more than your parents. In this world, your parents love you the most. So take care of their advice. They're not your enemies. They care about you. Listen to them. And that listening will give you tawfiq in dunya and in akhirah. Al-Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. And tonight, because it is the final majlis, inshaAllah, it's good, I thought we will remember as-Sayyida al-Zahra, salamullahi alayha, al-Masa'ib. وهي صاحبة العزاء, salamullahi alayha. When he was young, about maybe 4 years of age, they brought him to al-Imam al-Rida, alayhi salam. Imam Rida was sitting, and one of those servants, brought al-Imam al-Jawad, alayhi salam, to al-Imam al-Rida, salamullahi alayhi. So this 4-year-old sat on the ground. Then he first started kind of going like this into the ground, Then he looked into the skies like this. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam looked at his son, al-Imam al-Jawad, salamullahi alayhi. قال بنفسي أنت. This is an expression of love. May I be sacrificed for you. Myself is for you. Of course, this is from Imam al-Rida. It is an expression of the greatness of Imam al-Jawad. One of the greatness of Imam al-Jawad. This is my son who's an Imam. بنفسي أنت. Why did you do this? Now Imam al-Rida knows he wanted the other people who were sitting to listen. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam said, كنت أفكر بظلامة أمي فاطمة سلام الله عليها وما جرى عليها. الإمام الجواد عمره 4 سنوات يفكر بظلامة أمه الزهراء سلام الله عليها. Imam al-Jawad is 4 years of age. Imam al-Rida asks him, why did you look at the ground like this and look in the skies? Imam al-Jawad told him, I was remembering the pain and the calamities of my mother Fatima. Imam al-Jawad is 4 years of age. At the age of 4, he remembers Sayyidah Zahra, غلامتها سلام الله عليها. لها وقع وأثر في قلوب هاي الظلام للزهراء عليه السلام.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
This oppression against As-Sayyida Zahra alayha salam was painful to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It was painful to them. A man comes to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and he was happy. The man was happy. He says, what happened? He said, I got a baby girl. He said, what did you name her? He said, I named her Fatima. The narration suggests Al-Imam put his hand on his forehead, and he said, ah, ah, ah. He said, you named her Fatima? He said, then since you've named her Fatima, then don't hit her. Maybe he's referring to what happened to his mother Fatima salamullahi alayha. لولا سقوط جنين فاطمة لما أودى لها في كربلاء جبين وبكسر ذاك الضلع ربت أضلع في طيها سر الإله مصون وكذا علي قوده بنجادة فله علي بالوثاق قرين وكما لفاطمة رنة من خلفه لبناتها خلف العليل رنين وبزجرها بسياط قنفذ والشحر بالطف من زجر لهن متون On her last day in this dunya, As-Sayyida Zahra alayha salam told Asma, Ya Asma, I am going to rest for some time. After a little while, call me. If I answer you, then it shall be so. But if I don't, then be aware I have joined my father, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Asma said, I sat down reading the Quran. After some time, I called her, Ya Mawlati Ya Zahra. تقول ما أجابتني. She did not answer me back. I called her again, oh my master, Ya bint Rasulillah. She said he did not answer me. I called her a third time, Ya bint man صلى بملائكة السماء مثنى مثنى. تقول ما أجابتني. I went to her room, I removed the cover. I saw that Fatima had joined her father Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. At that moment she said Al-Hasan wal-Hussein alayhim as-salam came back home. They told me, Asma, ayna ummuna Fatima? Where is our mother Fatima? She said, I didn't know what to tell them, so I told them she's sleeping, meaning the sleep of the Akhirah. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam looked at me and said, Ya Asma, ما هذا وقت نوم أمنا فاطمة. This is not the time of sleep of our mother Fatima. This is the time when she is in her mihrab praying to Allah. He ran to the room of his mother. He removed the cover and then he cried, أخي حسين إن أمنا ميتة. هذه الحسرة ظلت في قلب الحسن والحسين وأولاد الزهراء إلى يوم عاشوراء، إلى يوم العاشر من المحرم. وكأني بزينب عليها السلام تنادي أمها يا أمها تعالي كربلاء يم الحسن تعالي وشوفي بكربلاء شلون حالي جيت الكربلاء والراس عالي جيت ويا اخوتي بعزي ودلالي يا زينب واسية واسية يا زينب زينب. الشاعر شي جاوبه وكأني بالزهراء تنادي مو بعيدة مو بعيدة يما أنا مو بعيد مو بعيدة يما أنا مو بعيدة يما أنا كنت يم حسين من حزة ورد يما أنا كنت يم حسين من حزة وريدة يما أنا 3 أيام ساكن البيت شو مسوين يا مولاتي يا زهراء يما نوم أقوم أدور خنصر ايده نوم أقوم أدور كف عظيم يما أنا حالتي بعدهم شديد وين اليواسين بدمت على بنين لدي حزايا يا ورقبت و3 أيام ظلت شفته أولاه يا ابن الماء يا حضرته ولا غسلت جفته ودفنته ولا نايح على ناحته ويخته ولا نايح على ناحته ويخته يا رسول الله يا فاطمة إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين.